Keywords is one of the most important processes that I use to find good ideas. And the whole point of doing this is to find what are the images in people's heads and essentially their needs, and we're going to try to solve them where nobody else has. So I'm just going to quickly explain how the process kind of works on Amazon. People identify a problem or a need, say they're going to an event, and then they see the solution for that. I need a purse for that event. Okay? And then they translate that into a word. So, okay, something's coming up, idea in head. Well, how do you describe that? Put it into words. And then now they see, and that's the keyword, obviously, the word. And now they see that. And then what is the process? Does this match that image? Is what they do with every one. And whatever one matches that image in their head, huzzah, is what they click and choose and buy. So this is with one individual image in their head, okay? And sometimes none of them match that image. So then they have to use the problem of what's the closest, okay? That's essentially how the process works. We described the process for one individual looking it up, but now every individual looks it up differently. So here's my attempt at describing a purse. And this is the important thing. If I was buying a purse for somebody, like if you're a lady, you probably are like, no, what do you like? No, like I would not look up these words. But a man buying a purse for a lady looks up something quite different because I have no idea. Okay. So here's the point. In a market, there's lots of keywords. So it goes way wider than this. Okay. So that's an important concept, is the number of keywords. All right. And the also important is the number of images, because we had that one image for the lady earlier. But now there's lots of images and there's lots of words. All right, so in a market, there's a lot of keywords, which we've already identified, okay? And then there's a different depth on each one of them. All right, so how many people are looking that up? And then there's a lot of images of what they want in their head. So essentially what I'm doing with keywords is I'm looking where are there a lot of people, because there needs to be volume and people looking stuff up. But where is there a mismatch in the products on the page and the image in their head? So we want to find somewhere where essentially the products on that page for that keyword. So imagine here's a lot of volume for keyword, okay? And then if we look at the products, where do those products like not match the image in somebody's head? All right, so the way we're gonna, this is kind of complex, but stay with me through it, okay? Because this is what everybody else does, is what they do is they look at the volume and they say, well, what are people buying? That's what I should do. What can I copy, okay? Instead, what I do, and we'll show you an example with the eclipse, is I say, what are people looking up? What are they buying? And then where is the mismatch? Where is the one that doesn't even exist yet, but people want it? That's where I like to go. So each market, some markets might have lots of ideas, okay? You know, those are kind of all translated into different words by different people. That's one option. Or there could just be maybe a couple of ideas and one of them doesn't exist at all. So this was the eclipse glasses. Everybody thought, hey, we should just make eclipse glasses. And so everybody was making all these different ones. But I essentially started to think of like, well, where are all the different ideas? And then all of a sudden I realized, wait, somebody like, okay, I looked at the products and I read the reviews and I saw through that people wanted a viewer that wouldn't let in light through their eyes. So that's how I found what people wanted. But you can also look at the search terms, okay? So what is the whole process here? We don't know what these ideas are. That's the problem. And this is what I'm always looking at. The only thing I look for is images in their head, because that's what they're looking for. But you can't see those. You have to kind of create that yourself. Whereas most people just look at what is selling and what are people looking up and let me copy and build that. No. Not how I do it, or how I think people should do it, because this is the real way to provide value to people. You try to say, where are people looking for and what do they not have? What is not there? So on each word, essentially what we're able to do with keywords is we look, where are people looking? And then we look at the options. So then we say, do these options look like those images? Okay? Yes or no? And if they're all the same, like in pet gloves, and there's only a couple ideas and images in people's heads, well, it's going to be harder to compete here because they just imagine themselves getting that fur off the animal, all right? And that's about it. But with the eclipse, there was this big one where they imagined just being able to look at the sun and not have to worry about it. So I was able to look at the options and the keywords, and I was able to identify that people wanted a safe one that blocked out all the light. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but there wasn't an option for that. So I did that. And that's how I was able to make products that added value. And then I was able to also look at who the customer is. So by looking at all these words, okay, these and the reviews for the products, you're able to paint a picture of what these images are. And what we do is we essentially try to get all these ideas so essentially what these ideas and images are, these are the consumer needs. So we're able to look at keywords, paint a picture of what the needs are in people's heads, and then also look at the reviews. And then when we have all of these, and then we try to say, okay, well now do the products on the market fulfill those images? And that's essentially the process of keywords. At a very theoretical level, now we could show maybe a more practical example so we can put it all together. Now we're going to simplify and show an example. So essentially, summarizing everything up, keywords are at a fundamental level, they're kind of a clue or a hint. Okay? There's a lot of them. But when we look at all of these, what we can start to do is we can start to draw the images and see what actually people want or imagine in their head. All right, that is the whole key behind keywords, okay? And then what our main goal is to now figure out all of these images. Originally, maybe you think it was just here, okay? But by looking at all of these keywords and hints over time, you might find that there's more ideas, okay? All right, so if we just look at the sold products here, and like, well, here's the keyword and here's what people are buying, so they must want that, you know? But no, you got to go and look at all of this, and we find, wait, they actually want something up here that doesn't exist at all. And that's what I did with the eclipse, okay? So originally, it looked kind of like the pet glove market. There was just a couple of options, and they were all these paper glasses, okay? Paper glasses, and everybody was looking up like solar eclipse glasses. All right, so pretty much everybody was looking up solar eclipse glasses. But when I looked at kind of the wider keywords, I was able to find out that there was some people looking up for kids, okay? And there were some people looking up, so there's some people looking up for kids. There were some people looking up like NASA certified. There was ones looking up safe and all this stuff. So essentially, I was able to get my hint. Well, obviously, I want to get NASA certified safe ones and kids. Okay, well, there's people buying for kids. But everybody who's looking up solar eclipse glasses for kids, they aren't actually typing that in. A lot of them who are thinking of buying them for their kids, they're just looking up solar eclipse glasses, and then they're seeing which ones match for the kids. So by looking at the long tail, looking at some of the less searched ones, we're able to better draw that picture, okay? And if you think about it kind of at a very more fundamental level, of course, if everybody's viewing this, like, there's going to be a lot of kids, but maybe not everybody's looking for kids because everybody's just trying to do their best to imagine, like, putting the ideas in their head into words, and then, you know, the stuff shows up. So I started to look at all of the keywords, all of the options, and then, you know, kind of looking then at the options. All right, so here, then I look at the reviews. Okay, so I look at the reviews and I start to see what people say. And people started to complain. Oh, complaints are great. Complaints are great because they tell you what people actually want. All right, and then people were saying that light was coming in the middle and like that, and they were worried about their kids taking off the glasses. So I see stuff about people looking up for kids. I see people complaining about them being cheap paper plastic or cheap paper glasses. And I also see people worried about their kids taking it off. And so this gives me a hint to make some goggles or to do something else, okay? And that obviously people want NASA certified. Like, it's a very scary thing. You're looking at the sun. You want nice, safe glasses. So I was able to really paint a picture of this. But then I saw people also in the reviews saying, I bought this for a party. I also saw some like governments buying it and making things. So I started to paint a picture. So I look at kind of like who are the customers, and then you need to look at their needs, okay? So essentially the needs of this, by looking at reviews and keywords and stuff, obviously they want safe, they want ones for kids, blah, blah, blah. And then I was able to like kind of see that. But I looked at the customers and I saw there was governments, there's individuals, and there's also families. There was also, guess what? I saw photographers in those comments. I saw scientists. I saw grandparents. I saw everybody, okay? So I just started to build up, like, who are all of these markets and what are their needs, okay? And then by looking at all of this together, then you can now start to paint an image, like, in your head, or you start painting images in your heads of what all of their images are, okay? I start to take all of this, and now I start to see what are all these images up here, okay? And then I compare it to what is there right now. I know it's getting kind of messy here, but essentially now these are my thoughts of what the images are. Could it be a better picture? Yeah, but I'll just put it together for you guys, okay? Essentially, I painted pictures of what I looked at the reviews, I looked at the keywords, which all gave me hints to make ideas of my head and like see what wasn't there, okay? And it turns out that, guess what? There were lots of things that weren't actually there and nobody was serving, and I made those and served them, okay? And if you would have just looked at what sold, you wouldn't have done this. All right, so what I essentially identified was, wait, there's groups. There's big groups. So they want a bulk quantity. So we sell like 50 or 100, okay? Great. Nobody else was doing that. Did that. Oh, great. now give them price. And what were their needs? They just needed safe ones, and they needed ones that were economical because you're buying for a lot of people. So I made that and kind of catered it to that. Now, what about what else was there? There was females and people who were buying for kids. None of them were really designed for kids, okay? So there was also the family market, and all the designs kind of sucked. They all have kids, and they could either have, boys or girls, or there's grandparents, there's all sorts of people. So I started to say, like, well, they want safe ones, they want certified ones, and everybody also was mentioning that it was a once in a lifetime experience. So you probably want some cool ones for kids, because if you think about it, kids, they like fun looking stuff. I don't know, but they also wanted safe ones. So we made cool looking safe ones of paper and the goggles, because people wanted those and people were worried about their kids taking off the paper ones. So because I knew that families were buying for their kids and people wanted safe ones that didn't let stuff in, I was able to paint a picture of what people actually wanted, and I was able to sell through a keyword that you might not have. If we go back to here, nobody was looking up for Eclipse goggles, but I was able to paint a picture of their needs and then make a product that came in here and solved those needs even though they weren't looking for it. That's how I go about, if you're going to invent or do something. But the same concept applies to everything where you're making and doing unserved customer needs. Essentially, we want to see what the needs are and then how to solve it. I mean, it could literally just be a different color, could be a different feature, could be something different. But if we gather all of these keywords and then paint the picture of their needs, see what they say in comments, then we're able to see what keywords we could go after and actually where those mismatches in the market are. I just want to say that this was a tiny bit intuition, but it was only intuition after I had looked at all the data of what people were looking and what they were saying to now make those images in my head. And so I'll give you guys now a concrete example. So one option is we can look at a product, okay, that is selling. It's selling a lot. And then we can use a reverse lookup. And this essentially will tell us all the keywords, 1, 2, 3, that it sells for. And we can even see where it ranks high, okay? Because if it ranks high for a keyword, it sells a lot through that. So if we find one where it ranks high and there is a lot of volume, then we see that. And then when we look at all the options here for that keyword, so if we find that there's a mismatch between the keyword and the products on the page, and there's a lot of volume, then that means that there are probably images in people's heads that don't exist. That's the reverse technique that I use, okay? It's a bit complex, but it's actually not. You just find something that's selling a lot and ranking high where a lot of people are looking, and then if it's like, what? Like, these options don't seem very good for that word, and there's like lots of options but not good, then it's like, oh, there's unserved images in there, and then you dig deeper. This was just the high level fundamental way of thinking about this, and later in the course we show you guys how you actually go about doing this tactically and visually, and we use Helium-10 to use this to do the reverse search and analyze the keywords. But right now, just know that overall you want to find where the images in people's heads are not matching what the results are, and where there's actually enough people there. So that means there's dollar bills to be made, and the people are just like, well, I guess that one was the best and I need this. And so we want to go where their dollar bills are, and they'll be like, well, that's my guy. So, or girl, or whoever. So next video, you guys will see that later tactically.